Head scratcher morning, lots of head scratchers. Questions for the Calvinist Reformed Tulip people. Romans chapter 7, verses 7 to 17, somewhere in there. Paul is talking about being dead. What kind of dead is he talking about? And how come, if, according to Reformed theology, people that are unsaved, which Paul was speaking of in Romans 7, if they're unsaved and unable to understand righteous things or spiritual things, or understand their sin and sin nature, and therefore can't respond in any positive way to the Lord, how is it that Paul responds to the holy laws, the righteous laws, the good laws, so that he can recognize his sin? I'm not sure how this works in Reformed theology. Here comes my cat. Whee! All right, so as I fast forward through this, what kind of deadness did Paul experience, and how did he become alive while he was dead? Here's the scripture. Once I was alive apart from the law. He was living in what way? That's a question. I discovered that the very commandment given by God reaching out first, God giving you prophets, giving you scripture, giving you the law, giving you the commandments as the first movement in the salvation process, sin seizing its opportunity through the commandment. He found out that he was a covetous one, and he didn't even know what coveting was, but then did that which was good. So God gives something good that anybody can understand, which seems to fly in the face of how salvation works according to Reformed theology, in order that sin was exposed. Well, I thought you couldn't understand your spiritual problem unless you're regenerated first. Maybe Paul, being a Christian, writing this when he's referring back to when he wasn't a Christian, he was just a law-abiding Jew. Maybe Paul was confused. We know the law is spiritual. I know different Bible versions might say different things, but Calvinists, reformers, we got a problem. If the law itself is spiritual, yet we can't understand spiritual things, yet every parent teaches their kid, no, don't lie. No, don't hit your sister. No, you can't steal that toy from Billy Bob. That's not your candy, little Joe. But they can't understand it, right? Now, I'm guessing the reformer is going to say, well, not from the spiritual sense and not in a saving sense, but what's the difference? You understand it. You're right or you're wrong. There's sin and there's not sin. But spiritual thing, I did not understand what I do for what I want to do. Okay. By the way, right here says Paul's stuff is hard to understand. I'm not saying I'm reading into these verses correctly, but again, Romans 7, there's talk about dead, but being alive while dead. I know this dead's probably not the one used for spiritual death, but you can read my words. It just seems like something is missing, something is off. There's some sort of contradiction to Reformed theology. So, Romans 7, how can Paul be dead, but really be alive because he's dead? Head scratchers abound.